Welcome to the Top 200 podcast with your host, Herschel Foran.
What's up, everybody? This is Herschel Foran from High School Top 200, and this is the Monday morning meeting. I'd like to welcome everybody back again for this next week. Get everything out of the way, like and subscribe, all that good stuff. Share this around with your friends and family. Those that are not privy to this channel or to the website, make sure we get everyone on hstop200.com. Sign up for $5 a month. Despite what it says, it's not free. It's $5 a month to subscribe. Nanas, papas, uncles and aunties, everyone jump on it. Sacrifice the coffee for me, please, and sign up for $5 for all the content that you may want with First 15 Rugby from all around the country. I promise there's going to be a lot of good stuff. I promise there's a lot to come. The season hasn't even started yet, so we're still going through a lot of those, a lot of gradings, a lot of rankings still being figured out, which will be out in 2 weeks. So rankings will be out in 2 weeks before the start of the season in the first week of May. But yeah, all the rankings will be out then, and so all the rankings that you'll see now, all the ones from last year and things like that. So once the new year comes around, everything else will be different, and there'll be new stuff to look at as well. So share the Facebook page, share the Instagram page, drop in comments, ask me questions and whatever, and then I'll get around to all of that and I'll answer them pretty much on here too. But hstop200.com, sign up, get everyone that you know to sign up. Really helps me out so we can travel. I can go to attend more games, see more players, and things like that, take more photos, making sure that all the boys get seen and get recognized as well, because that's why I actually take photos at games, is so that I can take close-up photos of boys and talk about them and make sure that they're known around, not just their area or their competition, but also around the country, because a lot of boys are interested in other boys that are around the country that play in their same position, because they know eventually that they're going to come up against them when they play, under 18 Chiefs or under 18 Hurricanes or Crusaders or Highlanders. They're at one point going to be able to play against them and finally go, oh yeah, this is who it is. This is what I've been watching and following. And a lot of boys do that throughout their first 15 years, and so that's also the other reason why I take a lot of photos, so that boys get recognized, so boys can have that notoriety and sort of a limelight on them as well, that they are one of the best going around in the country right now, and being able to sort of measure themselves up against other players. I'm doing that with some year 11s now, which the rankings will come out too. Seeing some really good year 11 players, and if you're year 11, or if you've got a son who's year 11 that is playing first 15, please send them their names through so I can do some homework on them and all that kind of stuff too. I've seen some really good ones so far this year, and it builds throughout the year, because some year 11s make it midway through the year and then end up holding spots. Like sometimes when there's injuries and that, the next ones down are these year 11s that are good enough to take those spots, and then they end up just really playing well, and that's all you really need to do, is just really play well to kind of hold those spots throughout the year. I mean, I think like two really good examples from last year is probably the two boys from Christchurch, James Moore and Jack Miller, who Jack Miller is now up at Hamilton Boys, from Christchurch Boys, but both of those two boys played their way into starting spots and played their way into solidified spots on their first 15, and it's really paid off well. And even Jack Miller as well is doing really great up at Hamilton Boys too. But those two boys were like really good examples of playing your way from year 11 into some starting spots, and being able to hold their place in that team throughout the year. And even if you don't get into a starting spot, it's still, as long as you're in the conversation, and as long as you're always considered, your year 12 year is going to be a solid year as well. And a lot of times, like when things like that happen, right, like there's always this conversation of, what is it better to be? Because a lot of times, a lot of boys are, or not a lot of times, I can't really say that, but the ones that are born athletic, they're athletically built and they just have so much athleticism in everything that they do. And high school does get you ahead a lot faster, being that athletic, being that agile and mobile and all that kind of stuff. And some boys are just born with it and some boys are not. Some boys, they just have to learn it. Now, my argument there is that there's an athleticism side of it and there's a technique side of it. Everyone knows that, and especially in professionalism, in any sport that you're in, if you learn technique will outdo athleticism, because athleticism runs out after as age goes on, but technique doesn't, because technique you start to learn as you go along different ways of how to do something and different ways of how to still remain ahead of everybody else. And then the older you get within a game or the older you get within a career, you've found these different ways to stay relevant and stay important and stay needed and as an asset throughout your career and throughout the team that you're with. And so like when it comes down to that conversation of athleticism, is that like if you're not naturally born athletic and you don't really have those things, focus more on the technique of your position, the technique of getting yourself in and out of trouble, getting yourself to be useful around your important areas in whatever sport that you're in, and finding out how to do things differently as you progress within your career. Because the ones that last longer are the ones that are technically sound, the ones that have a high IQ of their chosen sport. And I tell a lot of Islander kids as well, is just like, don't worry about so much about your athletics and your how much easy it is to break the line or be faster than someone or stronger than someone. I always tell them to concentrate on the small technical side of your position, like especially for like rugby. Like a lot of times when I talk to midfielders, I always talk to them about making sure that they know how to read spacing. Is one thing that I talk to them about. As it's like, it's not about breaking that line, it's about making sure that you are drawing yourself a lot of attention and knowing what your options are going towards the line. That's what you concentrate on. It's not about breaking the line all the time, because you're going to start hitting that age where someone's hitting you harder and you still don't know how to get the ball out free, or you still don't know how to set something up for your outside guys, you still don't know how to read coverages, you still don't know how to dictate space that you are in or space that you can utilize. Like all those kind of things comes along with IQ and technique, making sure that your pass is strong enough that you can pass further than 7 meters on the run, which some players cannot do. There's some players, even in NPC and some Super Rugby players that I see as well, struggle to pass, that length, even as midfield backs and outside backs, and some of them can't even make those passes. And those are the kind of things that you need to work on if you're part of those positions. Even something like I remember this one time going to a Chiefs training, and I've said this before, and I was just on the sideline just kind of watching and observing. I was talking to one of the coaches, and then I remember Sam Kane and Retallick just picking up a ball, and then they just walked the length of the field passing it to each other, just 5 meters apart, just passing it. And they were just working on their technique as passing, just walking and passing, and then they would pick up the pace a little bit, and then they'll slow down, and then they keep going. They just did a normal back and forth pass, turned around, did it back, coming back the other way. They must have done it like 4 or 5 times. And I was saying, those are the kind of things that you want to perfect yourself on. Being able to give a proper pass, making sure that your arms are straight, your fingers are pointing, your action is strong, you're passing from your base, you're pushing from your chest, all those kind of things. You've got really good timing on your feet, and when you step and when you brace yourself to pass, take a hit, all those kind of things are important. And so even in these days of first team rugby, there's a lot of things that you may be jealous, and jealousy is a big one. Jealousy and a bit of envy, depending on where that line is crossed for players. But you do look at your mates and you do go, damn, I wish I could do what he does. Or why is he so good at that? Or why can he do that? And a lot of that stuff is just your own time practicing. You're just in your own time doing little things like that. You're just in your own time, and one thing I was talking about with Prop, and I was talking about him about his, being able to get down lower to he was telling me that his hooker sets it so low that he feels uncomfortable, and I was thinking, well, you're in the dorms, practice on the side of your bed, get down that low, measure yourself and see how long you can keep your stance, making sure that your hips are open and that you got a dip in your back, your bum is flat, you got flat back, you got good L shape on your thighs, so, all that kind of stuff. You can just practice leaning against your bed and holding that weight, things like that. You can find different ways of doing it, but making sure that you're technically sound and technically good, and be perfect at perfecting your technique. You're never going to be perfect at doing something, but at least be perfect at perfecting it. Be perfect at trying as hard as you can to get something done, or to learn something new, or to add something to your bag of tricks, so that you can still remain within the race that you may feel like you're losing. But I have this strong belief that your technique does take you a longer way. It takes you further than what your athleticism does, because sometimes it takes one injury to take away athleticism. One knee injury can take away a whole side of your game that you're used to running, and then because you injured one side of your knee, it just doesn't work anymore, and it's just one of those things that it just happens that way. Things like that just happen because that's just part of rugby. It's just part of the game, whatever sport you're playing. Injuries just happen, but being collectively sound and technically strong at things within your position is the goal at hand that you're supposed to want. Even if you're athletically strong, you don't just lean on that. You don't lean on that. You find those other ways. You find those other things that you can do to better your game and to add to your athleticism. Because once that athleticism runs out, you want to fall back on stuff. Once you get older, which is Father Time does not stop, the older you get, the more that you're okay, I know how to play this game a bit better. Martin Orne is probably one of the perfect guys, one of the perfect examples of adding to your game and the older he got from when he was on the wing to when he moved into the midfield, you could just see everything that he was on the wing was just athleticism. And then you saw him move to the midfield and there's athleticism. Then all of a sudden he had this skip pass, and all of a sudden he had this kicking game. All of a sudden he had this defensive strength that you just never saw before, and it was just about making sure that he covered all sides of his position. And to me, he's one of the best midfielders that we have, and him and Conrad Smith were probably the best combination that we ever had in the midfield. And from my my perspective and my opinion, that he was one of those kind of guys that had athleticism, but thought, no, I still need to do different things. I need to add to this. There's got to be more to this position than just that. It's not always going to be this easy. And as you're in under 15s and you're athletically strong, you can play around most players that just don't have it like you. But you still go out there and you still do the 100 passes. You still go with, kicks down the field. You're still there working on the smallest things of your technique. Practicing placing the ball back, practicing cleaning out players being the first over, practicing getting over the ball. All those kind of things that need perfection and that need critiquing all the time. Make it a point to go out there and just put in that work by yourself. When everyone's on their phone scrolling through TikTok and everything, just be the guy that's outside working on his technique. Grab one of your cousins, grab one of your brothers, or even your sister if you've only got sisters, or ask your dad to come out there with you and just watch you just with technique. Just take you outside there, just work on technique. Work on the rhythm of doing things and put that rhythm into your play. And most things are just based off rhythm and how you move around the field, because everything is done that way. Guy hits the ground, you place your feet over, grab your balance, get your hands and your feet over the ball, or get your hands and body over the ball, clinch onto that ball, hold tight, make sure that you're in a lower position. All of that stuff comes with rhythm. And if you work on your technique, technique's always going to beat athleticism. It's going to take you, it's going to take you further in a game if you work on that technique side of it. And so, some of you boys that have that athleticism already, and that you're sort of ahead of everybody else that are your same age, start working on those different things. Start adding those things to your games. Listen to a lot of older guys. If you have club rugby, if your mate's brother plays club rugby, and then you ask questions, be inquisitive, and ask. Don't ask your uncles. Uncles are the worst, because they'll tell you a bunch of stories that are not true and just to boost up themselves. It's so why you never get anywhere then? He's gonna blame it on everybody else. Don't ask your uncles. Ask guys that are older than you, that have a lot more experience, and go, just what did you do? What did you find that was different in your game, and how to get better, and borrow those things from guys, borrow that advice and add it to your knowledge, and just to give you more stuff. I was looking at a lot of these things too, because right now in your teams, if it's fairly new teams, rosters are coming down to the last selections, and there's this, you've probably already got your leadership groups, and usually they have about 5 or 6 of them. But if you're thinking about what it is to be a leader, and you don't really know how to, or what that means, because a lot of boys, and I guess it's just something that are just natural leaders, and you kind of find out when you're younger, when you're 8-9 years old and you just hang out with your mates every day at school, and there's just naturally those guys that you're drawn to. They're not necessarily the best players in the team. They're not necessarily the best, for their position, but leadership-wise, they just know how to. They know how to lead, but they know what to do and say to pick other guys up, and to get them to try harder, or to believe in themselves, or to, just to go an extra 10 minutes. There's these guys that are just natural leaders. And judging from like some of the questions that I've got over the years, and some boys that have been selected as captains and vice captains or in the part of the leadership group, a lot of them didn't know what that meant. And I think that being a leader for myself is more got to do with service. It's about taking the humble route. And what I mean by that is like, you're the one that's making sure that everyone's got boots and mouth guards. You're the other one, you're the guy that's reminding everybody like, hey, we need to behave and be a bit more examples when we get off this bus. We need to come with clean boots. We need to come with, the right uniform. Bro, stop forgetting your stuff, bro. Telling guys, sending out a message and going, hey, let's all be on time. Let's start doing these things better. Let's have a better training. Holding people accountable. I think that's another one too, is that holding guys accountable who are your mates and finding like the words to say it without being a bit of a dickhead, without sounding like you're trying to boss me around. The leaders know naturally how to say it. And most of the time it comes from, a message of helping and of love and of caring and being able to also feel that everybody is I guess safe around the message that you're trying to portray, that you're not trying to exclude anybody from the message, and that it's everybody's accountable, not just the one person, even though it may be pointed at one person or a few people. It's like being able to give that message to make sure that everyone knows that, like, oh, I'm saying this to them too, but this is for everybody, myself included. And being part of that group is about being in service of those that are in your team. Double checking if guys are all right. Knowing when a guy is having a hard time at home, or they know what their lifestyle is just going out to them and saying, bro, you all good today? I heard what happened last night. Is everything all right? Like making sure that boys know that it's not just about rugby. It's not just about the sport that you play. It's also about the fact that, oh no, I care about you regardless of when this game kicks off. And being that leadership side of, and having that leadership quality all adds into the fact that I still want to be of service to everybody regardless of if we've got the uniform on or not. And I think a lot of that stuff translates to how well guys react to whatever you may say. And like I said, that may not even be the best player on the team. You may even be on the bench, but your word means a lot more to them when you're cheering for them on the sideline, because they know that, oh no, we could be in class and he's cheering me on because he wants me to do well, not because he just wants to win the game. I don't think that's why he cares about me. And having that factor of making sure that all the boys know that you're there with them no matter what the situation is, and it's got nothing to do with sports. A lot of advice that I give to young players that have just been given this leadership role is just like, just do all the stuff that you don't want to do, that no boy wants to do. Do all those kind of things. Make sure the water's filled up. Like, of course everyone wants to watch the game, but if the manager's busy and there's, everybody else is busy, go and grab the waters and just take it on the field. Go grab the waters and go fill them up and don't worry so much about, when you're going to get on the field. And like the most perfect time to fill up the bottles is just before halftime. just before halftime is coming, go and fill up the bottles, bring them all back, because then by halftime, you may still get your core to go on the field and start the second half, and then there's still bottles there, even from halftime, that someone else will go and fill up after that, because I've already seen you just go and fill them up, and you still may get on the field. All those kind of things, guys will notice and guys will see and know that you're genuine about your position and wanting to help out. And I think like one of those things that I think a lot of boys struggle with is, you have to at least ask 4 times if someone's alright before they actually say whether they're alright or not. Because you got to have to go, yeah, bro, no, I'm all good. Like, you have to get 3 of those before you actually get like, no, bro, I'm being honest, bro, you alright? Like, before something really comes out. And if it has to take that long, it just has to take that long. You just have to keep asking, to really seem like you care. Don't be annoying about it, but like, at least, if you have that, feeling or that prompting that, something's not right with him, he's a bit different. Something's happened. I don't know, his missus, did something, or he did something wrong, or he's just not having good times at home, or things like that. It's like heaps of things like that happen. You just have to ask. And leadership of those qualities of those players comes in different ways and comes in different services that you have. But to me, it's always about service. It's always about doing the things that you don't want to do, or that no one on the team wants to do, but you being the example of doing it. It's like, everyone sees my efforts. Everyone sees that I want this team to be taken care of, regardless of what the task is. And I feel like that's the reason why coaching staffs call you guys as those leaders, and they call you into those positions because they know that whatever you say amongst your friends is always going to hold true. It's going to hold stronger than anything that would. And like, you guys sometimes have to echo what the coaches are saying, because sometimes people just don't like it coming from the coaches, and you guys have a stronger voice amongst the boys than the coaches do. And that's why you're selected, and that's why you're chosen. But at the same time, you can't abuse that, and you can't, use it as leverage to yourself. You just kind of have to do the right thing, be a good fellow about it, and give the message out that you are asked to give, and in all good and in all love and respect for the people that are receiving this message. I've seen a lot of these groups as well, like even like this year, right? Like I've been watching the leaders of the games that I've gone to, and the games that I've been watching, I've watched the leaders and the main guys that are on the field, and all the best players in the team usually are part of that thing. But then I always look for the example that they are on the field too, and it does go a long way, and it does go a long way for those who are younger, looking up to those older guys too. So make sure that you are the example, even to those guys that are in under 15s. If you're one of those first 15 leaders, always give a lot of encouragement to those boys that are in the under 15s, and that those boys that look up to you guys as well as the top dogs in your school, because that's exactly what you are. You guys are the lions in your school that you just walk around and nothing affects you, kind of thing. And it's just the nature of being in the top team for whatever sport that you're from. That's just the nature of it, and don't abuse that power, but make it worth everything that it is by giving service to those who sort of under your stewardship, like who are under your responsibility, and making sure that you use it right. I think another thing that guys, because I was talking to this other guy too, right? And I've been talking to him since he was 15. Came up through the rankings and stuff, and so he's year 13 now. And he was asking me, what should I work on? And it's like it's an obvious common question that I get, because I think that from me, I'm the one that is in charge of evaluating how good they actually are. Whereas mine is just the opinion. I'm just one guy's opinion. My counter question is always, what have you thought about it? Like, what have you thought about in terms of evaluating yourselves? What have you come up with? Because I think everybody knows what they need work on. I think everybody knows where they lack. I think they just want reassurance of whatever they're thinking about, they're on the right track. And then being able to give them advice that will help them out with what they need done. Because a lot of times guys know what they're weak at, but they don't know how to fix it. And they don't know how to ask for that help to fix it. And they don't know who to ask on how to fix it. And maybe asking, head coaches and that are not the ideal people to ask. Maybe they just don't want to talk to them about it anymore because they hear them all the time. And then so they come to someone like me who watches a bunch of their games, and then I can give them advice on that. But I don't want to be that guy that just points out problems. I want to be the guy that knows exactly what you think or how you're thinking. Because I want to get to know you guys as players and as people, and knowing how mentally strong you are and how confident you are. Because if I feel like you don't have confidence, I want to give you as much confidence as possible. Because you're all talented players. Most of the time it is just confidence. And when people ask me about, sir, and like everyone calls me sir, I hate that. I'd rather just be called bro or uso or something like that. Like, I'd rather that than sir. But I understand the dynamics of it. But they always ask what I need to work on. As I always ask, what do you think you need to work on? And then we start talking, and then I like to start talking about the different things that they throw out. And I like to ask questions about, well, what do you think about your game? What in your game do you think about that you don't feel like you're strong enough in that? Or like, what are these scenarios that you've been through or that you've noticed about yourself? And then try and talk about it in a way that they get to be honest with themselves and who they are and then what they're thinking. Because knowing about what weaknesses you have is a strong tool to have, and to be honest with yourself. And like for example, like myself, I'm not going to say, yeah, I could lose a couple of kilos. It's like, no, you need to lose flipping 80 kilos. Like, don't lie to yourself. You need to lose like 100 kilos. Like, what are you talking about? I'm never going to lie to myself about what I'm doing. Exactly with like how last year ended. Like, I was willing to see the writing on the wall, to see the exact truth of what this was, and go, no, Hirsch, this is not working. This is not what when you first signed up and you first made this commitment to this is not what you were wanting to do. This is not how you planned this out to go. And I was willing to be honest and upfront about it and go, yes, I should probably give it up. And I only kept this going because so many people messaged me and said, hey, just one more year, make it to 10 years, and then decide again. And maybe I needed that same encouragement from other people as well, but I had to reevaluate myself too and go, well, Hirsch, Are you doing enough work? Are you pushing yourself enough to get this out there? Are you uplifting a lot of kids like you wanted to do? Are you putting these kids in a better position conversation-wise when it comes to recruiters and to scouts and to executives and team managers? Are you doing what you were supposed to do? And most of the time, and most of those questions, I was saying yes. But there were some that I had to go, oh no, I'm not. That's not what I envisioned us to be. And I need to evaluate that side of and be a lot harder on myself and go, well, hold on, Hirsch. You wanted it to be like this, so let's start taking this route and making these changes when you need to make these changes. And stop kidding yourself and maybe stop putting blame on something else and just keep going along with what you had envisioned. All those kind of things I have to be honest with myself, and I am like really honest with myself. Never lie to myself about stuff. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I just tell them, like, bro, you're wrong, man. But how do we fix it? I don't really even dwell that much on the wrong part, because I don't want it to get into I'm wrong, I'm useless, I'm a failure. All the unnecessary things that comes along with it. All you need to do is admit that, oh no, yeah, I'm not good at that. Now, how do I fix that? Like, what do I need to do to fix it? And I go straight onto those questions, and I skip that self-pity side of it and go, that stuff I don't need to have. It's like, man, I'm not working hard enough. All right, where do I need to focus on to work hard at these different positions? Because that's where I'm lacking. And skip the other side, where I think the evaluation side of it too, when it comes to you boys, is that you guys got to skip the pride part, skip the fact that you're going to have this self-pity about, but I work hard and this, people never choose me for this, or people never say that I'm good. It's like, well, that stuff doesn't really matter, because that's a somebody else's problem, not your problem. You got to start thinking about your problems and then the things that you can do to fix it. And that's where all the other questions come up. It's like, okay, where do I start off first with how to fix my problem? I know that this is a targeted area of what I need to work on. Maybe I need to work on my speed to the line. Maybe I'll start off with that first. Maybe I'll start with being more controlled, moving up in the line and making sure that it's a solid line that we're moving up on. Maybe I'm rushing up too quick. Maybe I have a bit more patience. Start asking questions like that. And those are the kind of things that I ask boys as well. It's just like, well, what's your thought process when you go through this motion? Like, are you looking at being defensively strong? Are you looking at just not making a mistake? Are you looking at who your assignment is and then what's your second assignment? Are you thinking about it like that? And I start to ask questions like that because I want to know what they're thinking, but I also want them to know what they are thinking. And to sort of hear it out aloud, or sort of to read it back and go, oh, okay, this is how I react to things. That's not what I thought I was doing, but this is what it is. And so the self-evaluation thing helps out a lot, because like you start to really look at yourself in a light of honesty, a good self-reflection, like a good self-reflection that is positive, and being able to be all right and comfortable being wrong, and then being able to go, cool, how do I make this next stage of changing it, and then what do I need to do next to make sure that this is better, not just for myself but for the team, because that's really what it's about, is that it's a team sport. 14 other guys on the field, another 8 on the bench or whatever, and going, how can I do this to make sure that I'm doing the right thing for us as a team? And all those questions, I think, can be asked for yourself. And so if you are looking at your game, especially this early in the season, like a lot of you boys now have physically changed. A lot of you guys have gone taller. A lot of you guys have packed on a lot more muscle. A lot of you guys have gone fitter. I've seen a lot of you boys that have lost a bunch of weight, which is great to see. And then now you have to go, okay, I'm now stronger, faster than last year. I've lost a bit more weight than last year. I've put on a bit more muscle. Now how do I play with this new form that I have? What things do I have to change around? What things do I have to either compensate for things that have made better, or if I've lost a lot of weight, put on a lot more muscle. I can't throw my body around the same way that I used to, but because I'm stronger, I can use it in this area now that I've packed on some muscle. All those kind of things is things that you got to start asking yourself, and making sure that you're asking the honest questions first, and then you're answering yourself honestly and with a lot of positivity, and skipping over the self-pity side of it. Go straight from, this is what my problem is, this is where I need the work, straight onto, okay, how do I fix this? What things do I need to do? What are some ideas? Come up with ideas. You're never going to have the answer straight away. Come up with some ideas. Maybe ask a mate and go, hey man, I noticed that I've been doing this. Is that right? Like, am I falling in this area? I feel like I need to do a lot better than this, and I think I need to do like this, and this, and this, and this is what I come up with. Does that sound right to you? Going to your coach and going, hey, I've been thinking about this. Am I right in the way that I'm thinking? And these are the things that I've come up with to change, to make myself better. Is that right? Does that sound right to you guys? And all those kind of things can make a difference. They all make a difference. It's all better for yourselves as well. With the way that you want to be portrayed in the team, and for how guys can, not show that you're making an effort, but that boys do know that you're showing a lot of hard work and wanting to be better for the team. And I mean, if you're part of that leadership group like we were talking about, that goes a long way, that you're being able to, evaluate yourself and being honest and going, hey, yeah, I just need to change it like this. I need to make sure that, I'm putting 100% effort in every training that I'm doing. I'm falling off 20 minutes towards the end. I'm getting tired. I'm getting a bit frustrated. I need to work on regathering myself on that moment. Maybe take a breather to the side, evaluate yourself and go, okay, I need to reset myself for this last 20 minutes, push myself right to the end, all that kind of stuff. Those are the kind of things that I wanted to talk about today. The making sure you're technically sound is one of those things. Being in the leadership group is real important, especially at the beginning of the year that we're going through right now. And just making sure that you can evaluate yourself in an honest way to make a change, just for your team. It's been cool seeing that, all these teams that are traveling around. St. Bede's going up to Wellington, having those games up there, seeing Grammar go down south, seeing Kings go down south, watching all those games go about, seeing teams go down to Taupo to play Hastings, and travelling and helping out Hastings, and I think Napier Hamilton boys leave soon, I think it is, to go over to the Sanex, and all those kind of things. I think Napier had one hit out against St. John's Hastings, I think. But their captains are great that they've chosen with Joel and Tasman. Making sure they have a good, solid, strong group in that team. But I'm really interested to see what it is, because I've started getting, of course, with all the results coming back, I'm starting to put together this mental top 15 going already. I mean, I talked about the top 5, and there's easily 12 considered for that top 5. And then I've got top 15 sort of going through my mind at the same time, taking those 12, taking those others that are considered top 10, starting to work those things in. And and trying to get this right mix of a top 25 that is deserving of a preseason top 25, making sure all of the teams that I have considered are all being considered in the right way, in the right manner, in terms of Do they deserve to be there? Are the boys that are returning a good crop of boys that are returning? And do they make a difference to the side? One thing that I've learned over the past is that even though some teams may have a lot of boys returning, sometimes it's just not a strong group, like whether they've worked over the summer or not. Some of them just don't make the difference that you think that they're going to make. And sometimes it's not even those ones that return, it's that year 12 and year 11 group that have come in, that have gone, oh no, we're the ones that are ready to pick up this load when these fellas move out, even though that there's 9 guys returning from the starting, and you just watch them on the field and you're just like, oh man, did they even advance like from last year's efforts, you know? Those are the kind of things that I'm looking at now. And you know, I've started getting different reports from different parts of the country of different teams, and so I'm really interested to see after all this preseason over the next 2 weeks what everyone's going to start looking like and what everyone's finalized teams are, which is the other thing that's coming up. But making that top 50, there's a bunch of teams that are that can make that top 50. Even some of these smaller teams from around the country, there's a lot of them that have actually gotten really, really good. And as I find more results, like smaller teams, I really have to search for results and things like that. And so that's what I do a lot of the times, is that I go through a lot of Facebook pages, I go through a lot of kids pages, I go through a lot of parents pages just to see if they've got any kind of score, or, you know, especially for smaller teams, because they don't think that people care about their team, whereas I'm the one that does. That's why I share everybody's stuff on my Facebook pages or my Instagram, is that if you're a small team and you've got you know, first 15, I want to hear about how good you're doing and how and who your players are and who's up and coming. It's like, I want everybody to know that your school has a first 15 and that you guys play rugby. You know, I think one is like Linfield College is one that I share a lot of their stuff on my Instagram page, because I mean, I know about it because my mum used to go there when she was back in the days. And so like I have like you know, an interest in that. It's just like, oh yeah, they may not be a strong St. Peter's type in Auckland, but that's just a team that has a first 15. They post stuff up, and I want to be able to repost it and put it out there so everybody knows that this is a team. And hopefully they get asked for preseason games by other teams that are also on their level. And that's what I wish will happen a lot more, is that coaches and sports directors and rugby directors find teams on my page and go, oh, we should reach out to that team. And if you want help, come through me, and I usually have a contact for, you know, every school, and go, hey, this school's trying to reach out, what's your guys' number that you want me to give them so that they can give you guys a call? They're interested in like a game. Like all those things I wish would happen a lot more. And like I would love to set up games for between two schools that have never really played each other, and thought, hey, they look like they're about on our level, that within the rankings that we're in as well. Maybe Herschel can hook us up with that and hook us up with a number. I'll be happy to do that kind of stuff. Anyways, rankings will be out soon. Look out for the number 1 player in the country. The top 200 rankings. We also got the top 100 rankings for the year 12s. We've also got the top 60 year 11 players. If you got some players that are year 11s that have made the first team, please send their names through. Please send those guys through. And watch out for the top 100 first teams in the country as well, coming up soon too. That's Herschel Freud, and this is the Monday morning meeting. Thank you for being here. Later, Bob.